No alarms warned them. That was the first strange thing. The sky above the quiet settlement did not burn. No fleets darkened the stars. No emergency beacon screamed. Instead, something fell, silent, broken, and wrong. The object struck the edge of the fields just before dawn, tearing a long scar through the pale soil. Smoke rose slowly, thin and dark, like a wound trying to breathe. Villagers gathered at a distance. They were not warriors. They had no army. Their world was small, forgotten, and valuable only because no one wanted it. The elder ordered caution. Scans showed no active weapons, no power core, no signal, just life. Inside the wreckage, curled among twisted metal and shattered glass, was a child. Not one of them. The child was small, soft-skinned, bleeding, wrapped in torn fabric marked with symbols no one recognized. The translator struggled, flickering with old, corrupted data. Species, human. Status, unverified. Threat level, unknown. The name meant nothing to them. There were stories in the wider galaxy. Old ones. Dangerous ones. Whispers of a species that burned bright and then vanished. A species tied to wars so vast that entire regions of space still avoided the ruins. But those stories were centuries old. Humanity was gone. Or irrelevant. Or extinct. The villagers argued. Some said to leave the child where it was. If pirates had destroyed the vessel, they would return. Some said to end the child's life quickly, before it could bring danger. The child opened its eyes. Dark. Focused. Afraid, but not screaming. It tried to move. Failed. Its breathing was shallow, uneven, painful. The elder felt something unfamiliar tighten in their chest. They carried the child inside. They cleaned the blood, wrapped the wounds, gave water. The child drank slowly, shaking, watching every movement with quiet fear. Hours passed. Then the scanner screamed. Multiple ships. Fast. Armed. Pirate signatures. The villagers panicked. They had no shields. No defense fleet. No chance. The pirates hailed them openly, laughing. We lost a cargo pod, the pirate captain said. A very rare one. Return it, and we might leave something standing. The elder said nothing. The child sat up despite the pain. It understood none of the words, but it understood the tone. Outside, the first warning shots struck the ground near the settlement. Fire. Heat. Power beyond anything the villagers possessed. Some wanted to surrender the child. That was when the child stood, barely taller than the elder's waist. Injured. Unarmed. It stepped between the aliens and the door. Its voice was weak. Broken. But clear. No. The pirates fired again. A building collapsed. Dust filled the air. Screams echoed. The child did not move. The elder made a choice that would echo across the galaxy. They hid the child. They sealed tunnels. Jammed signals. Evacuated civilians through old paths never mapped on any star chart. Pirates landed troops. They searched. They burned homes. They dragged villagers into the open and demanded answers. No one spoke. Several did not survive. In the deepest chamber beneath the settlement, the elder activated a device pulled from the wreckage, an ancient human transmitter, barely functional. They did not know who they were calling. They only knew the symbol etched into its casing meant home. The message was simple, short, desperate. Human child alive. Protected. We are sorry we are weak. The signal left the system. Far away. So far that the stars between had shifted since the last time it was used. Something heard it. Something old. Something that had not forgotten. Above the planet, the pirates laughed. They believed the galaxy was empty. They were wrong. The pirates expected fear. They expected pleading, betrayal, desperation. The usual responses of a small, defenseless world facing extinction. They had seen it hundreds of times. Forgotten systems were easy systems. Weak species always broke the same way. But this one did not. Hours passed. Then more. No transmissions. No surrender codes. No coordinates offered in exchange for survival. The pirate captain grew irritated. They're hiding it, he said. Flush them out. Orbital cannons fired again, carefully measured. Not enough to shatter the planet. Just enough to remind the surface who owned the sky. Buildings burned. Fields became ash. Smoke spread like a dark sea across the valley. Still, no answer. Below the surface, the tunnels shook with each impact. Dust rained from the ceilings. The child coughed, pressing a sleeve to its mouth, eyes wide but silent. The elder watched it closely. The child had not cried since waking. Not once. It watched everything. The aliens. The tunnels. The way they moved to shield it when the ground shook. The way they flinched when distant screams echoed through stone. It understood more than they realized. "We cannot hold forever," one of the guards whispered. "Our supplies." "I know," the elder replied. The truth pressed down on all of them. They were not brave. They were not powerful. They were simply making a choice. And choices had consequences. Above ground, pirate troops breached deeper into the settlement. They began taking prisoners. Not to question, but to send a message. One by one, villagers were dragged before the cameras. The pirate captain smiled for the broadcast. "Return the cargo," he said calmly. "Or we continue." The elder watched the feed in silence. The child sat beside them, legs pulled close, jaw tight. It stared at the screen as one of the villagers, an old farmer, was struck to the ground. The elder reached out, turning the screen away. The child grabbed their wrist. It shook its head. It wanted to see. Minutes later, the child stood again. Its movement was unsteady. Its wounds were not healed. The medical scan said it should not even be conscious. But it stood. "I can go," the child said, voice quiet, words broken by pain and exhaustion. "They stop." The elder knelt in front of it. "No," they said gently. "They won't." The child frowned, confused. "They always do," it replied. "That's how it works." The words landed like a blade. Somewhere in the child's past, surrender had been taught as survival. "Not here. Not today. We will not trade you for our lives," the elder said. "That is not who we are." The child searched their face, as if trying to understand a concept it had never seen before. Outside, another explosion shook the tunnels. Screams echoed again, closer this time. The elder turned to the guards. "Begin evacuation through the southern passage," they ordered. "Take the child last." The guards hesitated. "And you?" The elder did not answer. They stepped back into the open chamber and activated the transmitter again. Still no response. The device pulsed faintly, ancient and patient. Above ground, the pirates were growing bored. "Burn the rest," the captain ordered. That was when the first real mistake was made. As troops advanced toward the final tunnel entrances, something unexpected happened. Resistance. Not weapons. Not fire. People. Villagers stood in the open, forming lines with nothing but their bodies. Some held tools. Some held nothing at all. They did not charge. They did not beg. They stood. The pirates laughed at first. Then one of the villagers stepped forward, an elder, scarred and slow. "You want the child?" the elder said. "You will not have it." A pirate struck them down. The line did not break. Another villager stepped forward. Another blow. Still, the line remained. The pirate captain's smile faded. "This is inefficient," he muttered. "End it." Weapons were raised. That was when the child emerged from the smoke. The guards tried to stop it. Failed. The child walked past them, limping, bleeding, eyes locked on the soldiers who towered above it. It raised its hands. "I'm here," it said. The firing stopped. The pirates stared, surprised by the sudden compliance. Then the child turned, not to them, but to the villagers behind it. It spread its arms wide and stood in front of them. "No," it said again, louder this time. Something in the air shifted. The pirates hesitated, not out of mercy, out of instinct. This was wrong. Something about the moment felt dangerous. The pirate captain scowled. "Move it," he snapped. The child did not move. The villagers behind it did not move. A shot rang out. The child was thrown backward. For a heartbeat, the world froze. The villagers screamed. The guards surged forward. The pirates fired again, then stopped as alarms erupted across their ships. "Captain," someone shouted. "We're getting interference. Deep space. No known signature." The sky darkened. Not with ships. With shadows. Sensors failed. Communications cut. Navigation systems reset themselves mid-orbit. Ancient beacons, long dormant, activated across nearby systems. The pirate captain felt fear for the first time in years. "What did you do?" he whispered. Below, the child lay on the ground, alive but barely conscious. The elder cradled it, hands shaking. The transmitter in the tunnels glowed brighter now. It was receiving something, a signal so old that no modern system recognized it. The translation came through slowly, layer by layer, breaking through centuries of silence. Message received. Identity confirmed. Hold position. The elder looked up at the sky. The villagers felt it too, something vast turning its attention toward them. The pirate ships began to power up weapons. They would not make it. Far beyond the edge of mapped space, a fleet changed course. Humanity had heard the call, and it was coming. The sky did not explode. That was what confused the pirates most. No sudden fleet. No blazing engines. No obvious enemy charging in from hyperspace like in the old war stories. The stars remained calm, distant, uncaring. And yet, everything was wrong. On the pirate flagship, alarms continued to scream. Not warnings of impact or attack, but system failures that made no sense. Navigation data conflicted with itself. Timestamps desynchronized. Weapon systems reported readiness while refusing to fire. "Shut it down and restart," the captain barked. The engineer shook his head, panic bleeding into his voice. "We already did. Twice. Captain, our systems are being observed." "Observed by what?" The engineer swallowed. "I don't know, but it's not hacking. It's like something is checking if we're worth stopping." That word spread fear faster than any weapon. Below, on the surface, the villagers huddled in the ruins. Fires burned unchecked. Smoke blurred the sky into a dull gray ceiling. Bodies lay where they had fallen. Friends, elders, neighbors who had stood without weapons and paid the price. The child lay among them. Its breathing was shallow. One side of its small chest rose slower than the other. Blood soaked through improvised bandages. The elder pressed their hands gently against the wound, whispering reassurances they did not know the child could understand. "I'm sorry," the elder said softly. "We failed you." The child's eyes fluttered open. It looked past the elder, toward the sky. "They're scared," the child whispered. The elder stiffened. "Who?" "The bad ones," the child said faintly. "They always get loud before they run." Above them, pirate troops were retreating, not toward the villagers, but back to their landing craft. Orders were shouted. Discipline fractured. The pirate captain watched the surface feeds in disbelief. "They're not firing," he said. "Why aren't they firing?" "They can't," the engineer replied. "Weapons are locked. Something external has control or veto." "Then leave," the captain snapped. "Jump now." The navigator's voice trembled. "We can't calculate a jump. The stars won't stay still." The captain slammed a fist into the console. "This is impossible." It was. Because what the pirates were experiencing was not an attack. It was a containment. Across the system, space itself seemed to hesitate. Long-range sensors showed distortions, tiny, precise adjustments that bent trajectories, slowed signals, and delayed reactions by fractions of a second. Enough to stop escape, enough to hold them. On the planet, the elder activated the human transmitter again. It now hummed with steady power, no longer flickering. A new message appeared, clearer than before. "Medical assistance inbound. Do not surrender the child. You have done enough." The elders stared at the words. "How long?" they whispered. The device answered with a single symbol the translator struggled to define. Not time. Distance. Measured not in space, but in intent. Above the planet, one pirate ship broke formation. Its captain, panicked and desperate, ordered a blind jump. The ship vanished. For half a second, hope surged through the remaining pirates. Then the ship reappeared, exactly where it had been. Its hull folded inward as if space itself had rejected it. The vessel collapsed silently, crushed by forces no known drive could survive. The pirates watched in horror. "That wasn't an enemy," the engineer whispered. "That was a warning." On the surface, the villagers felt a low vibration pass through the ground. Not violent, not destructive. Like a distant heartbeat. The child smiled weakly. "They found me," it murmured. The elder tightened their grip. "Who did?" The child did not answer. In orbit, a single object appeared. Not a fleet. One ship. It did not emerge with light or noise. One moment it was not there. The next, it simply was. Black. Angular. Silent. It dwarfed the pirate flagship without appearing aggressive. No weapons powered up. No shields flared. A human symbol marked its hull, simple, old, unmistakable. The pirate captain felt his throat tighten. Open channels activated automatically. A voice spoke. Calm. Flat. Human. "This system is under temporary human oversight." The pirates froze. The captain forced himself to respond. "This is pirate territory," he lied. "We are engaged in lawful salvage." The reply came instantly. "There is no lawful claim to a human child." The captain's bravado cracked. "We didn't know," he said quickly. We can leave. We will leave. Negative, the voice replied. You are required to remain for assessment. Assessment of what? There was a pause. Of your behavior. On the surface, human medical craft descended, small, fast, precise. They landed gently among the ruins, kicking up dust, but no fear. Humans emerged. Not soldiers first, but medics. They moved directly to the child, scanning, treating, stabilizing with practiced efficiency. One human knelt beside the elder. You protected them, the medic said. It was not a question. The elder nodded slowly. We tried. The medic met their eyes. That was enough. Above, the pirate ships were boarded, not violently, but inevitably. Human figures appeared inside their vessels without breaching charges, without warning. Systems shut down completely. Crews were restrained. The pirate captain was escorted to the bridge viewport. He watched as more shapes appeared at the edge of the system. Not ships. Markers. Old human defense platforms awakening from centuries of silence. He whispered the words, every spacer knew. Ancient Terran sentinels. The human voice returned. Your actions have been recorded. What happens now? The captain asked, voice hollow. That depends, the voice replied, on how you treated the ones who could not fight back. On the planet, the child was lifted onto a stretcher. Its eyes stayed open, watching the humans move around it. One human squeezed its hand gently. You're safe, they said. We've got you. The child looked past them, to the villagers gathered nearby. They stayed, the child said. They didn't have to. The human followed its gaze. They nodded once. We know. In orbit, a message began to propagate outward from the system. Encrypted, classified, unstoppable. Human child recovered. Non-human species confirmed protective. Pirate aggression verified. Escalation authorized. The galaxy did not hear it yet, but it would. The pirates were no longer afraid of dying. They were afraid of being remembered. The pirates learned something important too late. Humanity did not arrive angry. Anger was loud, messy, predictable. What arrived instead was decision. On the pirate flagship, every human boarding unit moved with the same calm precision. No shouting, no threats, no wasted motion. Doors opened when humans wanted them open. Consoles shut down the moment hands reached for them. The pirate captain was placed in a restraint chair facing the main viewport. He was not harmed. That frightened him more than pain ever could. The black human ship still hung outside, silent and unmoving, like a thought that refused to leave. The human voice returned, now closer, coming from inside the bridge itself. You are being evaluated, it said. Do not speak unless addressed. The captain swallowed. He had faced empires before. Most wanted tribute. Some wanted territory. Others wanted revenge. None had ever treated him like a problem to be measured. On the planet below, human medics worked without pause. The settlement barely existed anymore. What had once been simple homes were now broken shells. Fire smoldered. Smoke drifted in slow, heavy waves. But the humans moved as if the destruction did not distract them. They scanned bodies, treated the wounded, recorded everything. One medic paused beside a line of covered shapes. How many? She asked quietly. The alien elder hesitated. 37, they replied. Before the child was shot, the medic nodded once and recorded the number. She did not comment. That silence carried weight. The child was stable now, wrapped in advanced medical fabric that hummed softly. Its breathing was easier, its eyes clearer. A human woman sat beside the stretcher, armored but unarmed, helmet resting at her side. You did good, she told the child. The child frowned faintly. I didn't, it said. They got hurt. The woman shook her head. No, she replied gently. You reminded us where to look. The child did not fully understand, but something in her voice eased the tightness in its chest. Nearby, the elder watched humans and felt something unsettling. They were not celebrating. They were not grieving openly. They were cataloging every ruin, every body, every mark of violence, as if this world had become evidence. In orbit, more human ships arrived, not in a dramatic wave, in deliberate intervals. Each ship took a precise position, forming a loose lattice around the system. The pirates could no longer count how many there were. The pirate captain whispered, How big is your fleet? The human voice answered, This is not a fleet, it said. This is a response group. The captain's mouth went dry. A response to what? The answer came moments later. A new channel opened. Not military. Civilian. The image that appeared made the pirate's heart drop. A human council chamber. Earth. He recognized it from old, half-forgotten data archives. Humanity's homeworld. The one pirates told each other was divided, slow, weak. The chamber was silent. Dozens of human representatives watched feeds from the planet below. The ruins. The bodies. The injured child. No one spoke. Then an older human stood. "We have confirmation," she said. "The child is alive." A ripple passed through the chamber. Not relief, but focus. Another representative stood. "The protecting species? Non-hostile. Pre-industrial. No defensive fleet. Multiple casualties sustained while shielding the child." Silence again. The pirate captain felt very small. "These are not allies," he said desperately, breaking protocol. "They're nothing. We didn't even know what the child was." The human voice cut him off. "That is irrelevant." The councilwoman leaned forward. "There is a law," she said. "Old. Older than most of us." She gestured, and text appeared beside her. "Any species that knowingly shelters a human child during hostile action is to be considered under provisional protection of humanity until review is complete." The pirate captain laughed weakly. "You can't protect everyone," he said. "You don't even control the galaxy." The councilwoman looked directly into the camera. "We don't need to." She turned slightly. "Status of the aggressors?" The human voice answered. "Behavior assessed. Intent verified. Resistance minimal. Casualties? None on our side." The councilwoman nodded. "Proceed." The pirate captain's restraints tightened slightly. "Proceed with what?" he demanded. No one answered him. Instead, something changed in orbit. The human ships repositioned, not toward the pirates, but around them. Energy readings spiked briefly, then stabilized. The pirate engineer screamed. "They're isolating us, cutting us off from everything." The human voice spoke again, closer now, colder. "You attacked civilians," it said. "You targeted a child. You ignored multiple opportunities to disengage." The pirate captain shouted, "We're pirates. That's what we do." The reply was immediate. "And this," the human said, "is what we do." One by one, pirate ships lost power completely. Not explosions. Not destruction. They simply went dark. Life support remained. Gravity held. Enough to survive. Enough to wait. On the planet, the elder felt the ground hum again, stronger now. They looked up at the sky and saw human ships silhouetted against the clouds. "What happens to them?" the elder asked quietly. A human officer stood beside them. "They will be transported," he said. "They will stand trial." "For what?" the elder asked. The officer looked down at the ruins. "For everything." The elder hesitated. "And us?" The officer turned fully to face them. "You are no longer invisible," he said. The elder felt their breath catch. The officer continued. "You will receive aid, protection, reconstruction support." The elder struggled to speak. "We are not important," they said. "We are small." The officer knelt so they were eye level. "You were strong when it mattered," he said. "That makes you important." Nearby, the child watched the exchange, eyes heavy but awake. It reached out weakly. The elder took its hand. Above them, the human council chamber remained in session. One final vote appeared. Provisional protection, approved. The decision rippled outward, faster than light, carried by systems humanity had built and never dismantled. Old allies received the update. Old enemies did too. Across the galaxy, quiet alarms began to sound in places where humans had not been seen for generations. The message was simple. Humanity was active again, and it had found something worth defending. On the pirate flagship, the captain stared out at the human ships, powerless. He finally understood. Humanity did not conquer worlds for resources. They did not dominate for pride. They moved for their own. And someone had touched one of them. The galaxy noticed silence before it noticed movement. Trade lanes near the outer system slowed. Long-range relays paused mid-transmission, as if waiting for permission to continue. Old navigation buoys, ones most civilizations assumed were dead relics, began broadcasting updated threat advisories. No explanation, no announcement, just a subtle shift that made experienced captains uneasy. On the protected world, the humans stayed. That alone was unprecedented. Usually, powerful species arrived, punished offenders, extracted what they wanted, and left. Protection was temporary. Interest faded. Memory dulled. Humanity did none of that. They built shelters first. Human engineering units worked beside alien villagers, using simple tools where possible, advanced ones only when needed. They asked before rebuilding homes. They listened when elders spoke. They marked burial grounds with care and silence. For every villager lost, a human name was recorded beside theirs. The elder noticed. "Why do you write their names?" the elder asked a human officer one evening, as artificial lights softened the darkness. The officer did not look up from the tablet. "So we don't forget who paid the price," he said. "And so others don't forget either." The elder felt something tighten in their chest again. The child recovered slowly. Human doctors explained that the wound would have killed it if help had arrived even minutes later. The villagers had bought that time, at the cost of their own. When the child was finally able to walk, it insisted on visiting every damaged part of the settlement. It stopped often, touched walls, placed small stones where people had fallen. No one told it to do this. The humans did not interrupt. Above the planet, the pirate ships were gone. Not destroyed, removed. They had been taken beyond the system, beyond even human space, to a place no pirate wanted to be remembered by. Trials would come later, sentences later still, but the galaxy would hear of it. In a council chamber far from Earth, representatives of multiple species gathered in urgent session. "This is excessive," one ambassador argued. "They're extending protection over a pre-industrial species based on a single incident. A single child," another corrected quietly. "They are setting a precedent," a third said. "If this spreads." "It already has," a fourth interrupted, checking incoming data. "Human fleets are repositioning. Not aggressively. Strategically. Screens filled with star maps. Lines shifted. Borders, long assumed static, became flexible again. They're not claiming territory," the first ambassador said, confused. "They're encircling." "Not encircling us," the quiet ambassador replied. "They're encircling them." Back on Earth, the council convened again. This time, the child appeared on the main display, sitting quietly beside the alien elder, holding their hand. "This is not about expansion," the councilwoman said. "It never was." She looked around the chamber. "We lost something once," she continued. "We lost our children in wars that should never have happened. We swore that if we ever had the power to prevent it again, we would." A younger council member spoke. "The galaxy will test this," he said. "They always do." The councilwoman nodded. "Then they will learn." The decision was finalized, not as a law, as a declaration. The message spread outward on every known frequency, translated into thousands of languages, encoded in formats both modern and ancient. This species is under the protection of humanity. Harm against them will be treated as harm against us. This protection is permanent. On the protected world, the elder felt the air shift when the message arrived. They did not fully understand the words, but they understood the weight. Human ships moved into long-term orbit. Defense platforms activated, not threatening, but watchful. Trade vessels arrived soon after, not to exploit, but to offer. Medical supplies, agricultural support, knowledge exchanges. The villagers were overwhelmed. "You gain nothing from this," the elder said to a human diplomat. "We cannot repay you." The diplomat smiled faintly. "You already did." The elder shook their head. "We are small," they repeated. "We have nothing you need." The diplomat gestured toward the child, now laughing quietly with other villagers. "You reminded us who we are," he said. "That's not nothing." Elsewhere in the galaxy, reactions varied. Some species welcomed the declaration, seeing hope in humanity's return. Others panicked. Pirate clans disbanded overnight. Smugglers erased old routes. Slavers rerouted far from human-adjacent space. A few arrogant powers tested the boundary. A single warning shot, precise, controlled, unmistakably human, ended those tests. No worlds burned. But everyone understood. Humanity was not seeking dominance. They were enforcing lines. And they were drawn around the innocent. On the protected world, a monument was raised. Not large, just a simple stone structure bearing the names of those lost. Human and alien names stood together. The child traced them with careful fingers. "Will they come back?" it asked the elder softly. The elder knelt beside it. "No," they said, "but they are not gone." The child nodded, as if that answer made sense. A human officer approached, holding a small object. A badge. It bore a symbol, human, but modified. "This is yours," the officer said to the elder. "It marks you as protected." The elder hesitated. "Why us?" they asked again. The officer answered without hesitation. Because when you had every reason to give up a human child, you didn't. The elder accepted the badge with trembling hands. Far away, in quiet corners of the galaxy, stories began to change. Not about humans as conquerors, but as guardians. As a species that remembered debts. As a people who did not forget their young, or those who saved them. And somewhere deep in human archives, an old phrase was updated with new context. The cost of mercy is high. The cost of ignoring it is higher. The galaxy would remember this lesson. Because humanity intended to make sure it was never forgotten. Protection meant nothing if it was never challenged. The galaxy understood this instinctively. Within weeks of humanity's declaration, the protected world became the quiet center of countless calculations. Trade guilds ran risk models. Pirate remnants argued over rumors. Governments debated how far human resolve truly extended. Many believed the declaration was symbolic. A message. A warning. Temporary. They were wrong. The first test came quietly. A corporate exploration fleet entered the outer edge of the protected system under the pretense of navigation error. Their ships were clean. Legal. Bristling not with weapons, but contracts. They did not fire. They simply landed automated survey probes near the planet's resource belts. To them, it was a loophole. No attack. No violence. Just business. Human sensors flagged the intrusion instantly. A single human corvette broke orbit and intercepted the lead ship. No weapons powered. No threats issued. A channel opened. You are inside a protected system, the human officer said calmly. Withdraw. The corporate captain smiled, confident. We mean no harm, he replied. We are not engaging your clients. The word hung there. Clients. The human officer did not raise his voice. You are extracting value from a protected region, he said. Withdraw. We have permits, the captain insisted. Issued by. Withdraw. The captain sighed. You wouldn't start a war over minerals. The human officer paused, then replied, we wouldn't start one, but we would end this. The corvette cut power to the probes with a single precise burst. No explosions. No debris. Just silence. The corporate ships left within minutes. The message spread faster than the incident itself. Humans were not negotiating the meaning of protection. They had already defined it. The second test was louder. A minor regional power, one that had never faced humanity directly, declared the protected species a strategic liability. They accused humans of emotional decision-making, of destabilizing balance. Then they moved a fleet closer, not into the system, just close enough to intimidate. On the protected world, the villagers watched unfamiliar ships appear on the edge of the sky. Fear returned, old and heavy. The elder contacted the human liaison immediately. They are watching us, the elder said. Have we done something wrong? The liaison shook his head. No, he replied. They are seeing if we mean what we said. Above the planet, human ships did not move. They waited. That waiting unnerved everyone. In distant council chambers, observers whispered. Why haven't they responded? Are they hesitating? Did they overextend? Then the human response came, not as a fleet movement, but as a broadcast. Clear. Unmistakable. This is humanity. The transmission repeated across all known channels. You are observing a protected world. Pause. Observation without consent is escalation. Another pause. You have 1 hour to withdraw your assets beyond this system's perimeter. The regional fleet did not move. They believed humans would not risk open conflict for a pre-industrial species. 30 minutes passed. Human ships repositioned, not toward the fleet, but between the fleet and the planet. Still no weapons fire. Still no threats. At 45 minutes, human defense platforms powered up across the system. Ancient, silent constructs awakening with terrifying precision. At 59 minutes, the regional fleet jumped away. No battle was fought, but the lesson was learned. Back on the planet, the villagers began to understand something profound. Protection was not a shield made of ships. It was a line in the mind of the galaxy, and humanity was enforcing it. The child watched the stars one evening beside the elder. They won't hurt us now, the child said quietly. The elder nodded. Because of you, they replied. The child shook its head. Because of all of you. Elsewhere, the galaxy shifted again. Old enemies of humanity, species that had once pushed against human borders, began reassessing their histories. Records were re-examined. Incidents reclassified. They remembered something they had chosen to forget. Humanity did not escalate quickly, but when they did, it was absolute. The third test was the most dangerous. A slaver coalition, operating far from human space, captured a transport carrying members of the protected species off-world. The slavers believed they were clever. They never entered the protected system. They never attacked the planet. They struck outside the declared boundary. They broadcast their demands anonymously. Humanity responded within minutes. Not with words, with coordinates. Human strike groups appeared around the slaver vessels simultaneously. Not fleets, units. Small. Surgical. The slavers tried to negotiate. Human boarding teams did not listen. The operation was swift. Every captive was recovered alive. Every slaver ship was disabled. The slaver leadership was taken. No executions. No speeches. Just removal. When asked later why humanity had intervened so far from the protected world, a human official answered simply, "Protection does not end at convenience." That sentence echoed through the galaxy. On the protected planet, reconstruction continued. The villagers learned human engineering. Humans learned local customs. The exchange was slow, careful, respectful. The elder noticed that humans never gave orders. They asked. They explained. They waited for consent. "You could rule us," the elder said one day. "You choose not to." A human diplomat smiled faintly. "We already tried ruling others once," she said. "It didn't make us who we wanted to be." The child began to learn human language more fully. Human history, too. It learned of wars, of losses, of promises made after terrible mistakes. One night, the child asked a question that stopped the elder cold. Would they have protected us if I had died? The elder did not answer immediately. They thought of the bodies, the names on the monument, the price already paid. "I think," the elder said slowly, "they would have protected us because you lived long enough for them to see what we did." The child nodded, satisfied. Far away, in places where humanity's name had once inspired fear, a new understanding took hold. Humans were not soft. They were not sentimental. They were selective. They chose where to stand. And once they did not move. The protected species was no longer an anomaly. It was a symbol, a reminder, a test case that proved something dangerous to the cruel and comforting to the kind. That even in a galaxy shaped by power, mercy, when defended, could change everything. And humanity was prepared to defend it. The galaxy did not panic. That came later. First, it calculated. Analysts reviewed human responses frame by frame. Admirals replayed sensor logs. Economists modeled the cost of ignoring or provoking a species that enforced mercy with military precision. The conclusion was unsettlingly consistent. Humanity was not reacting. Humanity was executing policy. That realization spread faster than any fleet. On the protected world, the villagers felt the change before they understood it. Traffic through nearby systems increased, but carefully. Ships slowed when passing the planet. Some altered course entirely, choosing longer routes over risk. The elder watched unfamiliar vessels from the hillside. "They're afraid," the elder said. The human liaison nodded. "They're adjusting," he replied. "Fear comes later." The child stood beside them, now stronger, scars fading but not gone. "Why don't they just leave us alone?" the child asked. The liaison considered the question. "Because the galaxy learned long ago that power without rules is dangerous," he said. "What they're learning now is that rules with power are worse." Elsewhere, the fourth test came, not from pirates or slavers, but from a great power. An old empire. Vast. Proud. Technologically equal to humanity in many ways. They issued a formal protest. Not a threat. A declaration. They challenged the legality of humanity's protection decree, citing ancient accords and shared history. They demanded arbitration. Humanity agreed. That alone shocked everyone. The arbitration took place in neutral space. Representatives gathered. Observers tuned in from across the galaxy. The Empire's ambassador spoke first. "You cannot unilaterally shield a species," he said calmly. "This destabilizes established balance." The human representative listened patiently. "You are correct," she said. "We cannot." The room stirred. The ambassador smiled faintly. "Then you admit. We are not shielding them unilaterally." The human interrupted. "We are shielding them absolutely." The smile faded. "You cannot enforce that," the ambassador said. "Not without war." The human representative nodded once. "Correct," she said. Which is why we clarified the boundary. A display appeared. Star maps. Human deployments. Not fleets massed at borders, but presence everywhere that mattered. Trade hubs. Transit lanes. Relay points. Humanity had not surrounded the empire. They had surrounded its influence. The ambassador felt something cold settle in his chest. You would strangle commerce? He demanded. No, the human replied. We would let it choose. She leaned forward slightly. Any vessel operating under your flag that violates our protection will lose access to human-verified lanes. Permanently. Murmurs spread. That was not war. That was isolation. The ambassador realized the trap too late. Humanity was no longer playing at dominance through force. They were enforcing morality through infrastructure. The arbitration ended without agreement. But no one missed the outcome. The Empire withdrew its challenge 3 days later. On the protected world, the humans received the update quietly. No celebration, just confirmation. The Elder noticed that the human ships in orbit did not increase. They reduced. What does that mean? The Elder asked. The liaison smiled slightly. It means they don't need to be obvious anymore. The galaxy had learned. Or so it thought. The fifth test came as betrayal. A neighboring species, one that had traded peacefully with the protected world, secretly sold navigational data to a hostile consortium. They did not attack directly. They enabled. They convinced themselves this was not harm. Human intelligence detected the transfer within minutes. The response was surgical. The species' access to shared databases vanished overnight. Joint research projects were frozen. Trade agreements were suspended. No explanation. No condemnation. Just absence. Within a month, their economy began to collapse. Only then did humanity speak. You violated protection through proxy, the message stated. This consequence is proportional. The neighboring species panicked. They sent apologies. Reparations. Please. Humanity accepted none of it immediately. The protected species watched from afar, confused. Why punish them? One villager asked. They didn't hurt us. The Elder answered softly. They tried to make someone else do it. The lesson was brutal and clear. Humanity did not care how harm happened. Only that it did. Fear finally arrived then. Not panic. Not hysteria. A deep, quiet fear that reshaped behavior. Pirate havens emptied. Slaver routes collapsed. Opportunistic powers reconsidered expansion plans. And everywhere, the same question was whispered. What if we protect a human? On Earth, the Council debated that question too. Reports flooded in of alien worlds sheltering human refugees, of stations offering sanctuary to lost explorers, of species invoking old human symbols not as threats, but as promises. The councilwoman from before read the summaries in silence. They're trying to buy safety, one advisor said. The councilwoman shook her head. No, she replied. They're trying to learn what safety looks like. On the protected world, the child listened as the Elder told stories of before. Before pirates. Before fire. Before humanity. The child frowned. Were we really that small? It asked. The Elder smiled sadly. Yes, they said. But size was never the measure. The child looked up at the stars. Do you think they're watching us now? The Elder followed its gaze. Yes, they said. But not like before. Above them, human ships continued their quiet patrols. Not looming. Not threatening. Just present. The galaxy had tested the line. Again and again. And every time, humanity had responded not with rage, but with certainty. By the end of that year, a phrase entered common use among spacers and diplomats alike. Don't cross human lines. Not because humans were the strongest, but because once crossed, they did not argue. They acted. And they remembered. The protected species was no longer just under humanity's care. They were proof of something the galaxy had forgotten. That power, when bound to principle, was more terrifying than chaos. And humanity had decided, once more, what they stood for. Years later, historians would argue about the exact moment the galaxy truly changed. Some pointed to the first human ship appearing over the ruined village. Others to the Declaration of Protection. Others still to the economic collapses and silent retreats that followed. They were all wrong. The change did not begin with fleets or laws. It began when the galaxy realized that humanity had chosen. On the protected world, life had grown into something unrecognizable from the ashes of the past. The settlement was larger now, but not crowded. Homes were rebuilt with a blend of alien design and human engineering. Stronger, safer, but still familiar. Fields grew again. Children laughed where smoke had once risen. And above it all, human ships still watched. Not many, not obvious, but enough. The elder, older now, movements slower, stood at the edge of the memorial plaza. The stone monument had grown. More names had been added over time, not from violence, but from age and natural passing. Human names remained beside alien ones. No one questioned why anymore. The child stood nearby. No longer a child, really. Human years had passed. They were taller now, stronger, carrying themselves with a quiet awareness that never fully faded. The scar on their side was still visible on cold days. A reminder. They wore no uniform, no rank. But everywhere they walked, humans nodded with respect. The elder broke the silence. You could have stayed on Earth, the elder said. They offered you everything. The young human smiled faintly. They offered me home, they replied. But this is also home. The elder looked at them carefully. You understand what you are to them, don't you? The elder asked. To both sides. The human nodded. I'm the reason, they said simply. Not the cause. Just the reminder. Far above, a diplomatic convoy exited hyperspace at the edge of the system. This time, no one panicked. The visitors were expected. Representatives from dozens of species gathered on the planet's surface, carefully, respectfully. They came not with demands, but with questions. They wanted to understand something. Why this world? Why this species? Why had humanity drawn such an unbreakable line here? Of all places, the human delegation arrived last. No warships, no displays of power, just people. The meeting took place in the open, beneath the sky. The human representative spoke first. You ask why we protect them, she said. The answer is simple. She gestured toward the villagers. They did what many stronger species would not. A murmur passed through the crowd. They had nothing to gain, she continued. No alliance, no promise, no leverage. Her gaze hardened slightly. They protected a human child anyway. One ambassador shifted uncomfortably. Is that truly enough, they asked, to reshape galactic policy? The human representative did not hesitate. Yes. Silence followed. Then another voice spoke, unexpected. The young human stepped forward. I was afraid, they said. I didn't know who they were. I didn't know if they would save me. They looked around at the gathered species. But they did. And they paid for it. Their voice did not shake. So this isn't about gratitude, they continued. It's about responsibility. A few diplomats frowned. Responsibility? One echoed. The human nodded. When someone shows you who they are under pressure, they said, you believe them. They gestured toward the elder. They showed humanity who they were. They gestured upward, toward the unseen ships. And humanity showed the galaxy who we are. The meeting ended without argument. There was nothing left to debate. Over the following years, the effects spread further than anyone predicted. Species began recording new doctrines. Pirate activity declined to historic lows. Slavery, never eradicated, but once widespread, became a death sentence for those who practiced it. Not because humanity hunted every slaver, but because no one wanted to risk being next. Humanity did not expand borders. They expanded expectations. And the galaxy adapted. On Earth, children learned a new lesson in school, not about conquest or war, but about a small alien world that chose kindness over survival. The story was taught carefully, not as propaganda, as warning. If you ever wonder who we are, teachers would say, remember who we protect. Back on the protected world, the elders' time finally came. The funeral was small. Human and alien alike stood together in silence. The young human placed a stone at the monument, hands steady. The human officer beside them spoke quietly. They'll record this, he said. In our archives. In theirs. The young human nodded. They should, they replied. But that's not why it mattered. The officer studied them. Then why? The young human looked out at the village. Because when the galaxy forgot what mercy looked like, they said, someone remembered. Above them, human ships shifted slightly in orbit. Not reacting, just being. Years later, decades, another incident would occur. Another lost human. Another distant world. Another choice. And the galaxy, now wiser, would hold its breath and wait to see what humanity would do. Because by then, everyone understood the truth. Humanity did not protect the strong. They protected those who proved, once, when it mattered, that they would protect the vulnerable. That was the real line. And it was written not in treaties or borders, but in stars, scars, and the quiet promise of a species that never forgot who saved its child.